Hi, welcome back to another Elden Ring video. Today I'll be talking about 5 weapons with strength scaling that I would use at the beginning of the game. Also, these are not just starter game weapons, they will carry you through the entire game. Again, that's the beauty of the Souls series. You can pick up virtually any weapon, well in fact any weapon in the game, and beat the game with it, including any and all enemies. So, these 5 are going to be based on strength scaling, so heavy Ash of War scaling. First up is the large club. This can be found in Limgrave. It's very quick to obtain, maybe 5 minutes from the point where you get torrent. It does require 22 strength and has weight of 8.5. This can be mitigated quite quickly with accurate leveling into endurance and strength, but it will pay off immediately. It starts off with a C scaling on heavy, and a +1 goes to B scaling. So it'll be very effective, especially with 22 strength. You'll be staggering opponents, and it will give great damage, especially for those critical attacks on stagger. Second up is the Spiked Club. Again, this can be found in Limgrave. Its stat requirement is very low. Its weight is 5. That's fairly heavy for a one-handy, but its stat requirement is very low. Its weight is 5, which is on the slightly bigger side of a one-handed weapon. But with 12 strength required, this is an easy weapon to pick up as the first thing. Also has bleed, which, as everyone knows on Elden Ring, is insanely strong and will easily carry you into any boss fight, providing they actually bleed. Again, the scaling is the factor of why I picked these weapons. With heavy scaling, strength starts at B. You can get A on it, but that won't be till +18. B scaling is very good straight out of the gate, and with a few levels you will be doing very good damage and taking down the biggest enemies quite quickly with this. Next up is the Forked Greatsword. This can be found in the lakes of Liurnia in a cave. Can be farmed from an imp. This again, stat requirements are okay. They're not too tough to get to. Strength is 14, dex is 16, and the weight is 9. A few levels from a good starting choice of character, and you could be happily smashing your way through the enemies. Also has bleed. With heavy scaling, you start at C, which is good, and by +4, which is very early game again, you're at B scaling all the way through till the end. This is a very effective weapon if you like the Greatsword moveset. If that's your thing, two-handed wielding, it's very effective and is a very quirky look to the sword also. Next up is the Longhafted Axe. This can be found in the Weeping Peninsula. This, of the 3 weapons you have to farm on the list here, this is probably going to take the longest. The Misbegotten that drops it seems to have quite a low drop rate for this item. I've farmed this item 2 or 3 times now, and it has taken more than 20 minutes to farm it. But you can get there within 20 minutes, and even if it takes an hour to farm it, you have plenty of runes to spend on the level requirements needed to carry this thing. And also, it's worth it because it's a very fun weapon. In my brief testing, it seems to be the fastest swinging of all the great axes. It does have a requirement of 24 strength, and the weight is 12.5, so it's on the heavy side, but this can be mitigated quite quickly in the game. Also, some talismans can help you with that. Can be infused with virtually anything, and obviously with heavy scaling it starts at B, which is fantastic. It will stay at B until plus 20, where it will become A scaling. So scaling wise, you can do a lot, you'll get a lot out of it. Has a very good move set, 1 or 2 handed, and also can be infused with any bleed, fire, magic, anything you need for that occasion. You can slap it on this weapon and start ploughing through enemies. Next up is the Greatsword. It's a colossal sword, and it's not lying because the weight is 23, which is colossal. Strength requirement is 31, so it's on the high end of requirements, but it's for a reason. The sword is massive, so reach is very good, the moveset is very good. Obviously, it's if you're playing this type of build, if you're cosplaying Guts, then this is the one. Scaling wise, with heavy scaling, you'll start at C. This will become B at plus 3. So again, very early game. This can be found in Caelid. You can run straight up, you don't have to defeat any enemies, and you can find this on the back of a carriage near a few enemies, but you don't need to fight any of them in order to get it. All the weapons I've chosen on this list are attainable before fighting any bosses within 20 minutes in theory. Obviously the ones that need to be farmed might take a little bit longer, but even if you're there for an hour, that is very little time spent in setting up your character for what will be worth the time of upgrading the weapon, instead of maybe the starting weapon that you get with most of the classes, which let's put it this way, they're not exactly the best weapons. I think the Uchigatana is probably the pinnacle of starting class weaponry, in my opinion. And these 5 weapons for a heavy strength scaling character, if that's what you're going to build, these are my picks. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment if you have any thoughts or your top 5 heavy scaling weapons, and consider subscribing. Thanks a lot.